Friends, so I've been curious about some things. The overwhelming amount of symbology, predictive programming, other things, that just seem different. So I was interested in looking into what the names of the Titan submarine passengers mean. So I just wanted to share that with you because I found very interesting. So Hamish, the first name, means supplanter, holder of the heel. It is of Scottish origin and a variant of the Irish name Seamus, borrowed from the Hebrew name Jacob. Hamish means supplanter or holder of the heel. And supplanter, to take the place of another, especially by force or treachery, to root out and supply a substitute for, to gain the place of and serve as a substitute for, especially by reason of superior excellence or power. Supplantation. The biblical meaning of the name Hamish, which is from the Sheumas version of the name, which is a form of James when it comes to biblical elements. The meaning is God protects. His last name is Harding, and again, this is Hamish, who is the British businessman that was on the Titan. Harding is an Anglo-Scandinavian name. It seems to have origins in Scandinavia and Germany. It is an old Nordic term for tough guy, and is still used as such in Sweden and Norway. The Middle English personal name Harding, Old English herding, Hearding, literally means the hard one, a derivative of Old English hard, harsh, strong, firm, brave. I'm going to include the document that I made that says all these things, so if you want to read it, you can. I'll link it in the description in a Dropbox link. Okay, so I looked up how to say this and I already forget, but the father's name, Shahzada, means prince or king's son. Then his son, Suleman, Suleman, his name means man of peace. It is the Arabic version of the name Solomon, the scriptural figure identified as either king of Israel or a Muslim prophet. The name means man of peace. Then their last name, Dawood, D-A-W-O-O-D. The biblical David is the English language equivalent. It is a prophet's name. So then, so what was God's purpose for David? Because the one had God protects as his name meaning. So then I'm interested to see, okay, well, if this person, their last name, the two true passengers of the ship, right? Their last name is comparable to biblical David, a prophet's name, and somebody else, their name meant God protects. So I'm like, I wonder what God's purpose was for David. David rose from obscurity to prominence through the work of God, who took him from leading sheep to leading an entire nation. In 2 Samuel 7, David expressed his desire to build a temple for God. God's desire, however, was to establish a dynasty, a house of rulers to sit on the throne of Israel for generations to come. What does the story of David in the Bible teach us? One of the central lessons for us from the story of David is the importance of the Holy Ghost and its role in helping us make good choices. So then we go to Paul Henry, and I did look up, and this is the Navy vet that loved the Titanic. I did look up the name Paul Henry as one. I was not able to find that, so I split it into two. First, looking into Paul, which means small and humble. Latin origin, a derivative of Paul, Paulus, means small or humble, associated with the disciple Saint Paul. In the Bible, he was a key figure in relaying the teachings of Jesus and preaching the gospel. Again, we just had God's desire, however, was to establish a dynasty, a house of rulers to sit on the throne of Israel for generations to come. And then this one, key figure in relaying, so getting the message out there of the teachings. Then Henry, the meaning is home ruler. It means home ruler. Oh, and then it just says, which is kind of interesting, the much loved 2007 animated movie, The Boss Baby. For some reason that's referenced. And then his last name, Nargolet, Nargeolet. That one was a little tricky to find, but I did come up with what I believe to be the only one that I could find that really explains it, which is capability, strength, and impressive personality. And then we get to the CEO, Stockton Rush. And this is where I was like, yeah, this is, I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I'll just read it. Okay, so Stockton means tree stump settlement. This woody place name inspires imagery of villages immersed in nature. And then Rush, the last name Rush, means dweller by the rushes. What are rushes? Well, rushes are plants that thrive harmoniously by the water. The name Rush will remind them of the need for balance and growth. There was one more thing that I wanted to bring up. It is this book, Futility, which this word means pointlessness or uselessness. This is the book that was released in 1898, just 14 years before the Titanic disaster. The Morgan Robertson is the one who wrote it, and it is called Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan. A book that tells the story of a fictional ship whose sinking bears several similarities with real events in 1912. What was 1912? That was the Titanic. Similarities and differences. The first and most striking similarity relates to the ship's names, given that Robinson opted to name his craft the Titan. Both the Titan and the Titanic collided with an iceberg on their starboard side of a cold night in April, some 900 miles from New York. Now, when they say before the Titan and the Titanic collided, they're talking about the Titan in the book. Okay, just to be clear. Some 900 miles from New York. While the fictional tragedy takes place in adverse conditions, however, the Titanic was sailing in normal weather. Guess what was not sailing in normal weather and almost had to be canceled because of the weather? The Titan. The Titan, in the book, was traveling from New York to Southampton. The Titanic in the opposite direction. Both had been dubbed unsinkable. While the former sank in a matter of minutes, the Titanic held out for around 3 hours after hitting the iceberg. So what is that saying? In the book, the Titan was instant problem, instant sinking, went down too quick. In the book, the Titan has a capacity of 3,000 passengers, of which only 13 made it off the ship alive. Thankfully, that near 0% survival rate was not replicated in the sinking of the Titanic. Guess what the 0% survival rate was replicated in? In both cases, the ships were designed according to a system of watertight compartments. What's more, the Titan was just over 880 feet in length, very similar in size to the 800-foot-long Titanic. Both liners had 3 propellers and 2 masts. But I'm sure it's all a coincidence. I'll include the documents that I made in the Dropbox link so that you can see it for yourself. Feel free to reverse search anything I talked about. I pretty much just Googled it all. You're welcome to do the same. I will talk about this more, but I want to let everything settle down. I just found this exceedingly interesting and wanted to share. Any implications here are all alleged, my opinion, not fact. I mean, it's all stuff that I looked up on the internet, but any implications of how it ties into anything is my opinion. I can't shake the feeling that something's not adding up though. But we'll leave it at that for today. Talk to you soon.